Good evening. I'm going to call the April 25th, 2023 regular town board meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Present.
Councilmember Delarada.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
Councilmember Brennan.
Here.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Here. Okay. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We wish to respectfully acknowledge that Niskayuna is on the traditional lands of the Kanikihaka and the Mahikanac peoples, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the peoples who have stewarded this land throughout generations. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the March 23rd regular town board meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes from the March 23rd, 2023 regular town board meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any changes to those meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to committee reports. Let's start with the Police and Public Safety Committee first.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Our Police and Public Safety Committee met on April 6th at 3:30. Under operations, we have our Stop DWI and GTSC initiatives continuing. That's our Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. And we are implementing the You Drive, You Text, You Pay campaign. Actually, that happened April 3rd through 10th. Chief Koshin brought attention to some great work, incident 193281. On January 31st, officers from the Niskayuna Police Department investigated a reported armed home invasion that occurred in Hillcrest Village Apartments. The investigation into this incident was led by Detective Paul Daly. In the ensuing days and weeks, Detective Daly was able to establish the positive identification of one of the individuals and secured the subsequent arrest of Zajon Von Heusen for his alleged role in this incident. Thank you to all the officers involved in this investigation, but especially Detective Daly for his hard work and dedication. The police department is continuing to assist with crossing guard details, and we are continuing to work with our school district to look into more crosswalk signage. Detective Munger is working to create a Niskayuna vulnerable person registry through the police department website. We had a system that we were using, but it really focused on children with autism, and this system would focus on any vulnerable person. So we're excited to start launching that soon. We had multiple tow agencies requesting they be put on the towing schedule. It will be difficult to keep track of a large rotation, so Chief Koshin and Town Attorney Finnan are going to work on developing a process for the application to be on the towing schedule. Lieutenant Frenier reported that outfitting of the new patrol camera system is completed for all the patrol cars to coordinate with the body-worn camera systems. We are pricing out AEDs through Stryker Medical, and they'll be the same AEDs that the Recreation Department is purchasing, so they will be coordinated through there. The quote for the 4 AEDs is $8,459.12. And we've sent over the documentation to finance for approval. The 2 police department bicycles have arrived and are ready to be deployed, and we thank the Janelle Group again for that donation. And we thank Lieutenant Frenier because he put the bikes together for us. We had our parking lot lights went out, and Charlie Bergami worked on fixing this, and he's going to be monitoring that. And also Seth Goldstein's working on upgrading our camera system. For training, we are continuing to service training in defensive tactics as well as de-escalation and minimizing use of force through the Police One Academy. Officers Powell, Hemmerding, and Guest will be attending alert training, which is an active shooter course. Officer Breslin will be attending EVOC Train the Trainer course. Officer Morrow will be attending the NASRO course. That's the National Association of School resource officers. And he did that April 10th through 14th. Chief Koshin stated that we're going to continue to look to build a community engagement officer with the school district. Officer Doust is progressing through the field training. We have some ongoing citizen correspondence. Larry Bostic requested the committee look into the possibility of building a crosswalk on Balltown Road to connect pedestrian traffic from Hexham Road West to the east side of the neighborhood. And he sent an email to Laura Robertson for Complete Streets to review. And this has been forwarded to Complete Streets and Laura Robertson for potential follow-up. For town events, we continue with Coffee with a Cup at the Senior Center. Chief Koshin's hosting this the third Tuesday monthly. And Sergeant Henry hosted our first Target Starbucks Coffee with a Cup. And Chief Koshin was there. Lieutenant Frenier and Twitty was there. Officer Powell stopped by with his beautiful little girls. And the community seemed to really enjoy talking with the officers and asking questions and having free coffee. We had Drug Take Back Day on April 22nd. Thank you to the DEA and NCAP for continued support of this. And there's just a reminder that we do have the drug take back boxes in the vestibule 24 hours a day for anyone who would like to dispose of prescription drugs. The police department will be supporting the Pedal Paddle Run event on May 13th, as well as Niska Day on May 20th. Under Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli reported that the online payment for dog licenses is going well. At that point, she had 54 online renewals. And our dangerous dog contract is ongoing with Montgomery County SPCA shelter. They're requiring an $8,000 annual retainer with a $50 per day charge for each animal. So Chief Koshin's continuing to talk with them about negotiating that a little bit. For fire department, Chief Lingerfelter stated that FD 1 and 2 will be conducting water task force exercises at SCC. And Chief Lingerfelter stated that there's ongoing discussions with the school district and the police department to organize an annual active shooter training. Chief Lingerfelter extended thanks to the police department personnel who assisted with the fire on Dean Street and helped the resident. Under school district, we're having ongoing district safety team meetings that Chief Koshin is attending. We're working on installing Knox boxes. The Cops and Kids Reading Program is continuing to be successful. Lieutenant Frenier reported that the readings are currently at Hillside Elementary, and Chief Koshin stated ongoing feedback that's positive from the community and the schools. Tonight, we're having a public hearing for our bus patrol program, and this is a proposed local law that will enable the school district and town of Niskayuna to have technologies installed on school buses to catch violators who pass the buses when the red light arms are engaged and subsequently fine the violator. This comes at no cost to the town or the school district, and Chief Koshin said he's been getting positive feedback from the school district about possibly adopting this program. We thanked Town Attorney Finnan for working on this public hearing tonight. Under personnel, we're canvassing the civil service classes, as well as looking for lateral transfers to recruit new candidates. And we are applying for the governor's traffic grant. And we also have a resolution tonight for the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant application. And our next meeting will be May 4th at 3:30 for anyone who'd like to join us.
Thank you, Councilmember Brennan. Now, community programs.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, and good evening, everyone. The Community Programs Committee met on April 6th, and it has definitely been a busy month in the Community Programs Department. Our 2023 Summer Program Guide was officially released on April 1st. This booklet contains information on all of the activities we have to offer in the coming months, including sports clubs, playground camp, the pool, and our summer concert series schedule, along with much more. A copy of the guide can be found under the Community Programs Department section of the town website. On Good Friday, we held our annual Spring Hat and Bunny Parade in celebration of Easter. There were coloring stations, balloon art, pictures with the bunny, and of course, a parade around the Town Hall Green. Despite the chilly temperatures, we had a great turnout, and our thanks goes out to Highway Superintendent Ray Smith and his crews in the Highway and Parks Department for maintaining the grounds and ensuring that they looked great for this event. And also a huge thanks to all of the Easter Bunny's helpers. We also held our second annual American Red Cross Blood Drive at the Senior Center earlier this month. Based on our first drive, our goal was to collect 26 units this time around, and we beat our goal by 5 for a total of 32 units. Donating blood can literally save lives, and whenever there is a call to help, our community always steps up to the plate, so I truly appreciate everyone who came to donate. And if you missed it, keep an eye out for our next drive, which will be sometime in early fall. Spring soccer began yesterday and will run on Monday and Wednesday evenings from now until May 17th. Also, weather permitting, the driving range is scheduled to open this coming Saturday, April 29th. Hours for the range do vary, so residents are encouraged to check the town website for a full schedule. And lastly, all of the park calendars on the website have been updated, so residents can check in advance to see if a court or field is reserved. Switching gears to the senior center, our exercise programs continue every day except for Fridays. Also on Mondays, we are now offering Mahjong. We also continue to offer our monthly informational session with the Alzheimer's Association, our St. Peter's Health Partners Blood Pressure Clinic, Coffee with a Cop, Book Club, and art programming. And again, information on all of that can be found on the town website. As far as resolutions coming from committee this month, we will be voting this evening to hire seasonal employees, set fees for the farmers market, and we will also be voting on an addendum to a standard license agreement for one of our clubs. Our next meeting will be held on Thursday, May 4th at 3 p.m. And just quickly, unrelated to community programs, I would like to acknowledge a member of our police department. Sergeant Nick Party, who is also a member of the New York Army National Guard, was promoted this past weekend to Command Sergeant Major of the 104th Military Police Battalion. It's my understanding that Command Sergeant Major is one of the highest ranks an enlisted member can achieve. So I just wanted to recognize his accomplishment and thank him for his service to our town and our military. Thank you, Madam Supervisor.
Thank you, Councilmember Moskowitz. Moving on to Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Public Works and Transportation, we met on April 6th. We started our meeting with Transportation and Public Facilities. That's chaired by our Highway Superintendent, Ray Smith. He reports that they're continuing work on resident requests for catch basins that need repair, patching of roads that people bring to our attention, and tree clearing that also residents bring to our attention. Personnel in the highway, last month I reported that we had filled our positions, but now we have an open position there. So we're still looking for some individuals in highway and parks. We are also going to be looking for people for our summer help. We hire sometimes college students that come and work in Parks and Rec in the summer, or parks and highway in the summer. And so we're looking for those individuals again. Yard waste pickup has begun. Please try to stick to the rules of size of containers and have your brush bundled. Those rules are on the website. You can also get them here at Town Hall if you need that information. The crews from the Highway Department will also be out repairing lawn damage that may have been caused by plowing this winter. It's the procedure and policy of the Highway Department to have the actual drivers and wingman from the plow go out and do the actual repairs to the residents' lawns that they may have clipped during the plowing. So they'll be out taking care of those things. Bid acceptance, we're accepting our bids for our paving for this season. That was also discussed. Resolution for some surplus equipment that will be sold from both the Highway Department and the Water and Sewer Department was discussed at the meeting, and the resolutions that we need for that. We had an open discussion discussing the memorial benches that we have here in town. You see them outside here around the green space and the gazebo. We have them down at Lions Park. And we're discussing possibly some other places maybe for them because the program's been very popular and we're getting a lot of benches. So we're thinking about different places for those and trying to continue that. Next part of the meeting is our Water and Sewer Department. That's headed by our engineer, Matt Yetto, our town engineer. At that particular portion of the meeting, we discussed some contracts that we have with cellular carriers for their equipment on our water tower. We discussed some easements that we have with residents that maybe want to put a fence up in their yard. We had a couple of those at the meeting also. Also, in the water and sewer maintenance department, we've got open positions there. You may have seen the sign on Route 7. We're still looking for some employees in that department. That sign has been kind of effective. We have been getting some calls, but we're still looking for some people. We discussed some purchase of some vehicles at the meeting, which have been budgeted for. Our utility billings for the fourth quarter and the spring residential and commercial utility bills was discussed. Our wastewater treatment plant, our organic waste program is going well. We're still doing some work on our gas piping, and we're hoping to have our generator and gas piping up so that we can use our gas generator to provide electricity for the plant. So we're working on that. We've got some openings there for a plant trainee and an opening for a plant mechanic. Those are specific jobs that we have available down there. We discussed some equipment replacement and repair at the wastewater treatment plant. At our water treatment plant, we have a project going on there to make some improvements on that. We've discussed that. We've also got a resolution to award some work for our water treatment plant. That's for our drinking water. Our next meeting is May 4th at 8 a.m. right here in Town Hall.
Thank you, Councilmember McPartlin. Moving on to Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee.
Thank you, Supervisor, and good evening, Niskiuna. As you know, I chair the Economic Development and Historical Preservation Committee. We meet every Friday, the first Friday of every month at 8:30 right here at Town Hall in the Schaefer Room. We met on April 7th of this month. Tonight, as a result of that meeting, we hope to adopt updates to our building codes to keep our code up to date with the requirements of New York State. This does require a lot of extensive work by our building department. So I do want to thank our town planner, Laura Robertson, as well as everybody in the building department for their hard work on that. April 29th, which is this Saturday, is Arbor Day. And we're going to be celebrating that here at Town Hall from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have several new tree species, including magnolia, cherry, and hardy northern pecan that we are handing out among many other tree saplings. We also are hosting Silent Wings. This is a first for the town. That is a raptor rehab and education not-for-profit that will have several birds of prey on hand. So that should be very exciting and on display for people to see and learn from. Of course, these birds need trees to live and thrive, so the residents can meet a raptor and then go home and plant a tree for them, hopefully to one day reside in. Also, we have composting classes. The town launched its first ever free composting event through a grant from NYSERDA to reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. The town is hosting additional classes and offering a composting pledge and giving away various composting equipment to encourage this activity in our neighborhoods. There has been a very high demand for this, very high demand for the equipment. So spots for the composting supplies have already filled up and we no longer have any more giveaways, but people are still allowed to attend the class. Based on the prior classes, they're filling up very quickly. Within 4 to 5 hours of launching the program, their register is filled. The planning board has a lot going on. As you know, they're working through various iterations of a development proposal on the Mohawk Golf Club, and they have received a lot of thoughtful comments from the public. Of course, we encourage people to continue to reach out to Ms. Robertson at the planning department with any questions and concerns regarding that. The planning board also has been working on a few tenant changes on Upper Union Street and ShopRite Plaza to keep the commercial district full and bustling. If the planning board does decide to recommend that project to the town board for approval, as a longtime member of the Mohawk Club, ethically I must and will recuse myself from any vote regarding that, and I'll leave that very difficult decision up to my fellow town board members. The comprehensive plan has gone very well. I do want to thank Mr. Strayer for his presentation that he did a meeting or two ago and on updates to the town of Niskayona's comprehensive plan. There was a lot of good information in that presentation, and I believe it will be on the town's website shortly for all to see. The Comprehensive Plan Committee is meeting regularly, and like all of these committee meetings, we encourage the residents to attend. A lot goes on in those meetings, and it's the best way for town residents to contribute and shape the policy of their town. We will be meeting again on May 5th, right here at 8:30. All are welcome and encouraged to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember De La Rada. Good evening. It's an honor to be here with you all tonight. We have several very important public hearings and resolutions on the agenda this evening, so I will keep my report brief. Tonight, the three public hearings will be engaging in. We'll first consider the establishment of a local law to hold violators accountable for passing our school buses by using video technology attached to school bus stop sign arms. Our second public hearing will consider a local law to establish a 10% tax exemption for our volunteer firefighters and emergency medical service professionals. And our third public hearing will address proposed sewer rates. Each of these topics have been discussed in great detail in our Finance and General Government meeting. However, tonight, our Comptroller Beth Greenwood will give the presentation about the water and sewer rate changes prior to that public hearing. Any resident is welcome and will have an opportunity to share their thoughts during each of these public hearings. But first, I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and we're going to put forward a ceremonial resolution to proclaim that April is Donate Life Month. As many of you know, there's an urgent need for organ and tissue donation across the United States. And this ceremonial resolution is intended to help bring awareness to this issue and greater understanding. There are nearly 8,500 New Yorkers and over 100,000 Americans who are in need of life-saving transplant operations. And one organ donor can save up to 8 lives. And one tissue donor can help enhance the lives of over 75 people. My commitment, in fact, our town board's commitment, our town's commitment to life-supporting donation efforts is more than ceremonial. As Council Moskowitz discussed previously, the town has held blood drives. Councilmember Brennan helped organize a bone marrow match drive for one of our residents, Aaron Jasinski. In fact, during that bone drive, 450 samples were collected to find a match for young Aaron. And as town supervisor, I supported the CSEA contract negotiation request to include paid leave for our employees who are donating blood, platelets, and organs. This is a first in New York State. And again, all of this demonstrates our commitment, in fact, our town's commitment to supporting those who are in need, and especially when they are in need of life-saving support. Now, with that said, I'd like the clerk to please call the ceremonial resolution 2023-124.
A resolution proclaiming April National Donate Life Month.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
the resolution passes. I would ask those who are here from Donate Life to please join me in the reading of the resolution. This is resident Joey Nuki, and he is one of the residents who contacted me regarding this proclamation. So I'll read the resolution and then I'll provide a little opportunity for you to speak.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a resolution proclaiming that April is Donate Life Month. Be it enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Niskayuna as follows. Whereas, realizing an urgent need for organ and tissue donors across the country, the National Donate Life Month observance promotes a greater understanding about the life-saving benefits of donation and transplantation, and that need is increasing. And whereas, the Center for Donation and Transplant is committed to addressing that need through increased awareness, and whereas, the transplantation of organs and tissue is a miracle of modern science made possible through the compassion of organ and tissue donors, enabling surgeons to save thousands of lives every year. And whereas one organ donor can save up to 8 lives and one tissue donor can enhance the lives of over 75 others. And whereas people of all ages, ethnic backgrounds, and religions are touched by donation and by the serious shortage of organ donors that exist. And whereas there are currently nearly 8,500 New York residents and over 100,000 Americans awaiting a life-saving transplant operation, and whereas every capable person should support the vital effort by registering as an organ and tissue donor, making their family aware of their wishes, and being willing to give the precious gift of life, sight, and life to people in need. And whereas registering as an organ and tissue donor at a local motor vehicle agency or online signifies our fundamental human responsibility to help others. And now, therefore be it resolved that the members of this town board do hereby proclaim and recognize April as National Donate Life Month and encourage all of our residents to join in promoting organ and tissue donor education throughout National Donation Life Month.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Supervisor Puccioni, and thank you to the board members for this great opportunity. My name is Joey. I work with the New Jersey Sharing Network and used to be with the Center for Donation and Transplant. On behalf of the more than 100,000 patients waiting for life-saving organs, I would like to thank you all for this great opportunity for increasing organ and tissue donation awareness. There's a great need for this, so thank you again, and hope to do this again next year.
We're old friends. Our kids played soccer together. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. All right. Moving on to our public hearings. We will now call for the first public hearing. Will the clerk please call the public hearing?
A public hearing on proposed local law establishing the demonstration program imposing owner liability for failure to operate, for an operator to stop for a school bus displaying a red visual signal and stop arm.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open.
Okay, so I have Matt Leon.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address you as members of the Niskayuna Town Board. My name is Matt Leon, and I am the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations for the Niskayuna Central School District. I'm joined this evening by our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Carl Mummenthe. And on behalf of the school district, our Board of Education, and administrative team, we thank you for your consideration of this important school bus stop arm camera demonstration program. In my role, I oversee the district's transportation department, and I'm very excited about the potential of this initiative. We are so fortunate here in Niskayuna to have such strong working relationships between the school district and municipal partners, and we especially want to note the ongoing work of Fire Chief Dale Lingenfelter and Police Chief Jordan Koshan, who are two champions of public safety for our students and the greater community. You can just hear in the public safety report earlier tonight, the way the school district was mentioned, that this really is a partnership on so many levels. And also just want to point out and thank the police for their help making sure our students can cross safely to school as well. So Chief Lingenfelter and Chief Koshan, serve on our district safety committee where Chief Koshan has led the way on the bus patrol school bus stop arm camera program. This is a very unique public-private partnership that promises to enhance overall community safety and protect our students in particular, with benefits for taxpayers as well. This is a real win-win-win. Sadly, we know that illegal passing of school buses is a daily reality in communities across the country, including our own, and that the consequences can be tragic. The bus patrol technology provides a way to capture these incidents and bring broad and impactful attention to this important safety issue. Communities that have implemented this program have seen an influx of revenue attached to it, but most importantly, they have benefited from an opportunity to bring attention to the dangers of illegally passing school buses and to change this behavior. According to Bus Patrol, 98% of violators do not receive a second ticket. Because this is ultimately about reducing these instances of illegal passing, we are fully supportive of an education or awareness period prior to the issuance of monetary fines. The town's establishment of a local ordinance enabling this demonstration program is a critical step in moving this initiative forward and sending a strong message about the value that we place on student safety in Niskayuna. Our school district is ready to have our buses outfitted with the stop arm camera technology at no cost to taxpayers. Equally as important will be strong partners in the public education campaign that will go along with it. See that I'm running short on time here, so
Actually, that is not, the timer should not be on for the public hearing.
Oh.
You talk as much as
Okay,
you
I'm wrapping up anyway, but thank you. In emphasizing our strong support for this proposal, we also note that there are legitimate conversations that can and should occur regarding the privatization of law enforcement in our country. That is an important, broader debate. Yet, this initiative is narrowly tailored to this specific set of circumstances and is the most promising approach that we have seen to hold those who illegally pass school buses accountable and, by extension, reduce this unsafe behavior. We owe it to our children to do everything we can to make their mornings, their afternoons, their lives, and their community as safe as possible. We commend the town for considering this important initiative, and we are prepared as a school district to do our part to make sure it is successful. Thank you.
The public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to come and speak.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and Town Council members. It's great to be here. My name is Kristen Duffy. We are in the Glencliff Elementary School. This is Madison and this is Max. They actually witnessed an incident on the bus the other day, so I'm really just the driver. Max is going to explain what happened. We have not rehearsed it, so you'll be just as surprised as I am about what comes out of his mouth. And Maddie is going to tell you some facts. You want to go first?
So just a couple weeks ago, a kid was getting off our bus, and the bus driver, what is it called? This put out the stop arm sign, and a kid got off the bus and was about to cross the road when a gray truck stopped and was about to go through, and then backed up and just went through. So,
Was it scary, or how did you feel?
I was surprised by it, and I think maybe the kid that was getting off the bus might have been a little scared.
Max, thank you so much for sharing.
Facts about
Are you going to put this in front? Go up closer. Okay.
Facts about bus safety. Did you know that children ages 4 to 8 are most likely to be killed in a school bus accident? This is because younger students are unable to see over or around parked cars or buses. 24 other states have school bus stop armed camera laws.
Thank you, Madison. Thank you.
We're very much in support of this. Chief Koshin and my brother-in-law is Chief Dale Lingenfelter. So we've had conversations about this in the past, and I think it's a great opportunity. And so we just wanted to be on the record for stating that we were very in support of it.
Hi, my name is Jenna Fisher. I'm brief. I'm just here to support the bill. My commute with my children is on Route 7 from St. Mark's to Birchwood. Most of those kids are obviously getting off of the bus on the same side, so there is no crossing of Route 7, but there has been plenty of cars that have gone by, obviously on the opposite side, maybe not aware of them having to stop, even though they're 3 lanes over. It gives the opportunity to give consequences. And I, like them, is just on the record of being in support of the proposition. Thank you.
Philip Cafargo.
Good evening, everybody. Philip Cafaro, longtime resident of Niskayuna. I am the worst dressed here and coming off the softball field, a little muddy. My comments are going to be very brief. So Birchwood dad, kindergartner, and a 4th grader. I was not aware that district leadership was going to be supporting this. And then a couple of cute twins over here as well. So I echo everything they said. If we have district leadership and our own kids supporting this, and there's no capital outlay, as I understand it, to the district or the town, I would assume there would be some type of revenue sharing model where whatever fines come in go back to benefit the community in some way. However those details get worked out, I'll leave that up to you and the police department and the district leadership. But I guess my question is also pretty simple: is if there's anybody in this room that is opposed to this, I would love to hear you speak to that and why. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Leslie Gold.
Leslie Gold. I'm also in favor, but I'm looking for some clarification how it's going to work, because I think it needs to be on the public record. Clearly, the town can authorize the use of these cameras by the school district within the town, but the town boundaries and the school district boundaries are quite different. And I don't know if there are municipal agreements in place, because the school district actually includes part of Colony. Of course, part of the town is also served by Colony schools. It also includes most, if not all, of Applause, part of Rexford, and part of Glenville. And I don't believe the town can authorize the use of the cameras in these other municipalities. So I'd like clarification on how that's going to work.
Didn't plan on speaking. Steve, are you still there? We have somebody from Bus Patrol that's actually on the line, but I can just answer that question. So
I can also help.
Go ahead,
if you need.
Steve. Do you want to speak to that specific question regarding if the camera systems are in place and they're on our buses and they're going places in terms of municipalities that don't have a local law adopted, how that all works?
So I can't speak for all geographies within the state of New York, but what I can tell you is that Bus Patrol actually already is the vendor for all of Albany County. So I believe the example that the woman who just asked the question was referring to would actually, there's a sense of almost like reciprocity, if you will. So if a school bus equipped with the Bus Patrol systems for your school district crosses over into anywhere in Albany County already has this county-wide local law set up. So they would basically, the violation would have occurred in Albany County, and Albany County would enforce and adjudicate the violation. And then similarly, if any school bus equipped with our system travels into your town, pretty much the violation would have occurred within your town, and you can enforce any of those violations that have our systems attached to the bus within your town borders. So you would have enforced and adjudicate, say, school districts that travel in from Albany County for whatever, school, sports, special education, school trips, etc. As long as it's equipped with one of our systems, and it occurs within your town boundaries, you can enforce it. And similarly for, say, Albany County, as an example. Is that helpful, or is there a follow-up to that?
I kind of thought there was something in place with Colony and Albany.
Correct.
But Outlaws and Glenville are part of Schenectady County. Rexford is actually into Saratoga County. So I don't know how things stand with that. I'm hoping there are municipal agreements or whatever that will take care of that. Because I totally agree with the law. I remember getting off the bus on Balltown Road and nearly getting wiped out because somebody didn't bother to stop.
Yep. So we just we're in the process of working with both of the two counties that you mentioned. They haven't adopted local laws enabling enforcement just yet, but we anticipate that they will in the coming months.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
The public hearing is still open. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this topic? So then everyone can hear you at home online.
So what's the next step? If everyone's in favor of this, what's the next step to get this done?
Okay, so this is the public hearing. We've proposed a local law. That's what we're holding the public hearing on here tonight. Also on for resolution tonight is the enactment of this local law. So later on this evening, there will be a formal vote on the local law. Once that is implemented, then we would take the next steps to enter into an agreement with a company to install the actual cameras. It's my understanding, Chief, that could potentially be this summer to have it effective for this new school year. Is that correct?
We're moving at light speed. We've
Like we
spoken-
usually do.
We do. Bus Patrol has the biggest footprint in New York State, with over 115 school districts already adopting this program. I spoke with a separate vendor. Contractually, so this local law does not obligate us to any contract with any vendor. What it does is it opens the door to then have that conversation with the vendors to decide who's the best fit. At this point, Bus Patrol is sort of standing alone, but that's to be determined. And that's where we would move forward. Bus Patrol has conveyed to me that they would have the ability, working with the school district, obviously they still have to go through their processes to potentially have the educational period and the equipment installed for the next school year. But again, there's a lot of variables to that. We're working with our partnership at the school district, who also has to supply their buses to be able to have these things installed and agree to those things. And that's something that we would work behind the scenes with them to develop. But again, this local law tonight, if adopted, opens the door to go light speed even further. So.
Thank you, Chief. This is the most interactive public hearing we have had yet. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for this public hearing? Okay. Seeing no one left to speak at this public hearing, I am closing this public hearing, and I will now ask the clerk to call for our next public hearing.
A public hearing on proposed local law regarding tax exemption for members of volunteer fire companies and ambulance services.
Okay, the public hearing for the tax exemption for our firefighters, our volunteer firefighters, and our emergency medical service providers is now open. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak, the floor is open.
Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Supervisor, Town Council. My name is Vincent Daly. I live at 2231 Webster Drive, Niskayuna, New York. I'm also a fire commissioner. This is my 20th year. And we have a great department. and we should all be thankful for that. It must be a godsend that you people put this together through the state of New York. You have no idea what that means to us, because we see it all. I guess you heard about Saturday. Our response time is wonderful, better than wonderful. I'm here tonight as a commissioner to tell you that we approve that on the board. And I want to thank everyone here. You did a tremendous job. Thank you so much.
The public hearing is still open.
Hi, my name is Vicky Michaela. I live at 2525 Antonia Drive. So from my understanding, the bill that allows municipalities to provide the 10% property tax credit for volunteer firefighters and EMS passed in December 2022. So this is a statewide initiative, and I'm fully supportive of it. I'm really proud that I live in a town that cares about our volunteer firefighters and EMS, and not just with words, but actually with deeds. But my reasons are practical as well, because our volunteer firefighters provide tremendous savings. We would not be able to afford to pay salaries and benefits to paid employees. And in addition, the tax exemption, I believe, would provide an incentive for more people to join as volunteer firefighters. And we can't get into a situation where we're lacking this really important resource for our town. So I'm happy to support it.
Good afternoon, Joseph Drescher. I live over on Pierce Road, and in full disclosure, I'm a volunteer firefighter over at Niskayuna District 2. Speaking in support of this local law, and I look at it from a perspective more so of promoting enrollment and enticing retention rather than even just benefiting current members. The volunteer fire field is very big on numbers. We need numbers. Not all of us can make calls at all hours of the day. We have families, we have work, we have other obligations. The more numbers, the more people who can make calls. If we miss calls, the public suffers. Whether it be we just don't have enough people because everyone has a 9-to-5 job or whatever. We need numbers. And surprisingly, it's hard to get people to join the volunteer fire department by telling them that they can miss family dinners, or they can wake up in the middle of the night, or as soon as they get home from work and take off their shoes, they should put them back on and go to a call. We need a little bit more. And this benefit helps with getting people to not only join, but to stay. A lot of firefighters get burnt out. And even our core members who would do it even without this benefit, who just do it because they want to help their community, they can only do so much. So I'm very supportive of this, again, just to help bring in more, to give us that help, more people, more bodies, and to retain the members that we do have. Having volunteer firefighters saves us, the taxpayers, money. The cost to any sort of revenue that this would do would be greatly outweighed by having to switch to paid fire departments, especially in Niskayuna District 2. So I'm in support of it. And, I've seen it. It's hard to get people to enroll, and it's hard to keep them. So anything that can help with that is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
William Chapman. I'm at 1465 Clifton Park Road. I would like to join the earlier speakers in supporting the resolution to do some tax reduction, local tax reduction for people that volunteer on our volunteer fire departments, I agree with the other speakers that this is a benefit to the residents of the town in many ways, even though the rest of the taxpayers will have to make up a little bit of the cost to do this exemption. It really is, in my view, great value, because to replace the effort and energy that these volunteers put in with paid professional staff would be much more expensive for the people of town, that we really are benefit from these citizens who want to contribute to the town. That's a good thing. I also feel like these volunteers, they're donating their time to do training, to do maintenance of equipment and fire vehicles, to support the regular firemen and calls and ambulance calls during the time. And I also think it's a way, it's maybe only a modest thank you, but it's still a thank you to these volunteers for the time and the effort that they put in. They're helping the community, and I regret not being a volunteer myself, but I did. My father was a volunteer fireman in the town where I grew up. Population about 1,000 on Saturday night, but my father was a volunteer fireman, and after we attended church, and I know it's hard for some people in the room to believe that I ever spent any time in church, but I did, that we would stop at the fire department, and my father would go out and start the fire engines, would start the ambulances, would start the water truck to make sure that the batteries were not dead on those vehicles, so that when there really was a fire call, they'd be ready to go. And you know, even the stipend, my father got paid $2 for a fire in town. This was in the 50s and 60s, and $1 for a fire in the country. And the fire department paid their volunteers in $2 bills at the end of the year, which they handed out to their kids for a little bit of Christmas money. And so, but I still think it's important that the community recognizes that, extends a thank you to these volunteers that help so much in our community. So I'm a supporter of the resolution. I'll go forward.
Leslie Gold. I live in Fire District 1, which has paid staff, but as far back as I can remember, which goes at least back to 6th grade at Van Antwerp, Fire District 1 has always been augmented by the volunteers of the Grand Boulevard Fire Company. So the volunteers benefit the entire town. And I think this is a very reasonable thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak during this public hearing? Okay. At this time, I will go ahead and close this public hearing. And I will ask for the clerk to call our final public hearing for the evening.
A public hearing on proposed changes to sewer rent rates for users in Consolidated Sewer District Number 1 and Consolidated Sewer District Number 6. So, Vicki?
Actually, I think Comptroller Greenwood will be delivering a brief
okay.
presentation first to review the proposed rate changes.
Good evening. I know for some folks this is the third time they're hearing this, so I appreciate your patience. I will try to make it fairly brief, but I do want to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to hear the information, and that way they'd be able to ask good questions if they had any. So to start out, the town water and sewer systems are utilities. The systems are designed to provide residents with clean water and sewage treatment. These services are in the interest of public health. The utility systems are a public good. They are not meant to make the town money, nor are they permitted to be a burden on taxpayers. Each system is supposed to be run at cost. Next slide, please. Okay. This is showing the budgeted versus actual revenues of the water and sewer systems. although we don't need to have a public hearing about water rates, we tend to look at water rates in conjunction with sewer rates, and that's why I discussed them here as well. All right, the town has 1 water and 2 sewer funds. Sewer 1 is collected by town infrastructure and piped to the city of Schenectady to be treated, while sewer 6 is collected and treated within Niskayuna. There's been a difference between the amount of revenue budgeted for the 3 funds and the amount actually received. The water and sewer 6 funds have been receiving less than the budgeted revenue, while sewer 1 has generally been bringing in more than it's been budgeted. This is not a sustainable situation, so needs to be addressed. Next slide. All right, so I'm just going to talk briefly about the calculation process. Based on the previous slide, when we saw that the revenues were not matching what was being budgeted, we began working to determine a method to harmonize the way we counted across departments. The assessor counts parcels, water and sewer billing department looks at accounts, and the comptroller's office looks at the numbers of users. We all have different reasons why we count differently, but we needed to cross-reference the various ways of counting to understand the systems as a whole. This process led to a number of corrections of the sewer district assignments that have been completed over the last year. Particularly, there was a large block that was moved from sewer 1 to sewer 6 to correct a discrepancy there. Based on the analysis of the revenue shortfalls, we calculated the true costs of running the systems. This was correlated with the corrected numbers and the volumes of water and wastewater processed. We did a 12-year look back, analyzing the throughput of the systems and the variations of use over time. Using the corrected property assignments, we calculated the numbers of system users and compared that to the adjusted flows. We then used 3 models to calculate the user fees: an average year, a dry year, and a wet year. This was done because water usage changes significantly from a dry year or a wet year as compared to an average year. You can imagine with people doing more watering of their lawns or filling pools or whatnot, that has a large effect on the system. Once we had a rate structure that worked with all 3 models, we processed several trial runs with the billing software to ensure that we had accounted for all the variables. Next slide, please. So there's a minimum cost to being part of the system. That is related to the minimum use fee. We use our water in our homes through many things: the sinks, showers, toilets, and appliances like the laundry or the dishwasher. All of these channel the water that's used into the sewer system. However, we also use water outside of our houses to wash cars, water our lawn or garden, and fill swimming pools. This water that passes through the water meter is not collected by the sewer system. The amount of water that is included in the minimum usage has been updated to reflect a usage of 52 gallons per day. Sewer is not metered. It is referenced from the water meter reading. This allows water that was used outside of the house but not captured by the sewer system to be counted for the water bill and not the sewer bill. The minimum water usage includes 9,490 gallons of water each 6-month period. Since we meter the water and calculate the sewer use from that, we allow for additional water to go through the meter that is not collected as sewer, making the amount of the sewer minimum higher than that of the water, and measured at 14,235 gallons on the water meter. Next slide, please. These are the new rates that were based on the calculations. Roughly 1/3 of the cost of running each system was used to determine the base rate. This is the rate that it costs basically to have a household hooked into the system and have that available. The remainder of the cost was used to determine the usage rate per 1,000 gallons. Sewer 1 had previously been billed as a lump sum on the tax bill with no consideration for actual use. This was not equitable, especially for households using less water and therefore producing less sewage to be treated. Previous water and sewer 6 rates had been calculated using a base amount which did not encourage water conservation. In fact, once users hit a particular threshold, they were billed a flat fee, which actually discourages conservation. Next slide, please. The benefits to the individual users of doing it this way is equity. You're actually paying for what water you use and what sewage is processed from your property. And it's conservation, because water is a valuable resource that needs to be conserved. I included the link. We won't go through it this time, but we've made this available and we've put a lot of information on the town website if people would like to calculate what their water usage is. And then we've got some suggestions as well for people to look at their water usage and be able to save water so they'll actually have the opportunity to decrease their bill. Next slide. So utility bill. This chart shows the amount of a basic utility bill based on various daily usage amounts. As you can see, above the minimum cost, the rate per thousand is added to reflect the cost of the water used. So using my own household as an example, we averaged 114 gallons per day on the estimator link, which would be 20,805 gallons in the 6-month period. So we would pay about $78 for the $78 for the first 94.90 gallons, which is the base rate, and then $4.40 for each 1,000 gallons over that for our water. This would equate to a cost of about $128 for water and $103 for sewer. 6 is where we happen to live, for a total utility bill of about $231 for a 6-month of water and sewer usage. This ends up costing our household roughly $462 per year for our water and sewer utility bills, or about $1.26 a day. So, and that's a family of 3, only one teenager left at home right now. So next slide, please. Local water cost comparison. During this process, we were also looking at other neighboring municipalities to understand what they were doing with their rates. This shows how the proposed new rates compare to neighboring communities. Not all municipalities measure water usage the same way. Some use gallons, some cubic yards, some billing might be annually, biannually, or even quarterly. Not all have minimums. Some don't meter at all. Based on these figures, you can see the cost of water in Niskayuna will be comparable to our neighbors once we institute these new rates. We did the best we could to equalize things so that we were comparing apples to apples here, but I have notes on where there were differences that if you pull down the slides online, you can look at them more closely. Additionally, since Niskayuna ties into the City of Schenectady water system and our Sewer One feeds into the city for treatment, I included the rates for city water and sewer use. Since the city doesn't have meters, each resident in the city pays a set amount quarterly. Next slide. This is the projected impact on residents. The realignment of the Sewer One billing, moving the operations and maintenance costs to the utility bill while keeping the capital debt on the tax bill, has had a profound and positive impact on the overall cost to residents, more so than rate increases. All sewer used by households in the Sewer One district in 2022 was already paid for on the 2022 tax bill. Because of this, there will be no bill for Sewer One use in the spring of 2023. The Sewer One rate will go into effect for the fall of 2023, billing to reflect actual sewer usage in 2023. And that's because of the lag with the systems. Next slide, please. Utility billing is based on usage, which lags. The new rates will affect the water that residents use beginning in July of this year. Water used from July through December of 2023 will be billed out next year in April of 24 at these new rates. Since the Sewer One change is being phased in over 23 and 24, the final column compares all 3 utility systems from 2022 to 2024 to get a full picture on the impact to the consumer. Each system will reflect the actual cost of the utility. So you can see once the full effect has been put into play, there will be an overall increase for people if they are a base user in water of about $63 a year. Sewer One will actually see a decrease of just over $18 a year, and Sewer 6 will show an increase of about $54 per year. And that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth, for that detailed work. Months of work went into this process, probably at least 8. There was a lot of work involved with the town comptroller, Beth Greenwood, town assessor, Eric Amberger, and the superintendent of water and sewer, Matt Yetto. Again, those slides are available online. They're on our website. This presentation has been done 3 times now, and it is also available on the website if anyone would like to see it. And now the floor is open for comment. there's anyone here who has comments, who would like to speak.
Would you like me to repeat my name and address again, or yes? Vicky Michaela, 2525 Antonia Drive. So the woman that just presented already spoke to the two issues that I was going to bring up, which are equity and conservation. And just from a personal, perspective, we had, when my kids were growing up, we had a backyard pool, and, it was great, but it really did use a tremendous amount of water, and energy for that matter. And, as soon as they went off to college, we closed the pool and we never opened it again. So, and that's really is one of the reasons. I mean, it would be nice in the summer, but it does use a tremendous amount of water, and it wouldn't have been fair through all those years if I had been charged the same amount for water as somebody who didn't have a pool, or who had a smaller family or whatever. So I just think it's a question of fairness. And I'm on the Conservation Advisory Council, so I care about conservation. And I do think that if people see their bills, they'll make that connection and try to conserve water, maybe, not water their lawns quite so much. I don't know about you, but when I walk by someone's house and it's raining and their sprinklers are going on, that kind of makes me a little bit crazy. Anyway, so those are my reasons for supporting this. Thank you.
William Chapman, 1465 Clifton Park Road. I would like to add my voice in support of going to the new billing system for water and sewer in these districts. And I think most impressive to me about Ms. Greenwood's presentation is how much analytical work that Mr. Yetto, Mr. Hamburger, and Ms. Greenwood have done in developing a procedure, a plan, an analytic plan to how to set the new billing rates, again, taking into seasonality and lots of other things. I join the other speakers in saying I think it is important in terms of equity, that if you're a single adult living at home, your kids have gone on, it's only fair that you pay for what you're using. And you're happy to have neighbors. Maybe you live next door to a couple that has 4 kids, and there's going to be some more water usage, and so people are paying for what they're using. And I also feel like, in contrast to places where maybe you just pay a fat fee, there's no motivation to conserve water, and so I think it takes a big step in conservation. And I also, when I was on the town board, served on special districts for many years, and there were things that a good audit is a very useful thing. We for a short period found that we were buying water from the city, and we had an open line that was pumping the water back to the city. And so when we learned that, we saved some money by stopping that. We also found that there were differences in our commercial rates, the rates charged to commercial businesses. We needed to standardize that. We also found that we had a lot of meters that were running slow, and so we weren't really collecting what we needed to be doing there. And we also did some work to kind of standardize things between residential and commercial. And so I know this has been a lot of work, but I also feel like it sets the town up to go forward really for another 20 years with fair rates. And also you've got some mechanisms that are in place that allow you to assess what's going on. So if you feel like you need to make a change, you've got an analytical basis to do that. So again, congratulations to these folks for the hard work they've done. I support going forward with the new plan.
Good afternoon again. Joseph Drescher. I'm still at Pierce Road, still a volunteer firefighter, but I'm also a Niskayuna water user. If the water and sewer systems are working at a deficit right now, that should be addressed, right? We're not saying that it should be making money, but it shouldn't be losing money where it has to go take from other places that we could be investing in, such as our schools. My second point and big point is water is crucial. It's critical. Whether we might not all drink it in Niskayuna because now we have purification systems and water bottles, or maybe like my wife, you drink a lot of lemonade, but our bodies still intake water in different ways, whether it's brushing your teeth, bathing, doing dishes, whatever. We should prioritize having clean water because that's something we're putting in our bodies. So we should make sure that our systems are well funded and at their optimum operating. And then my third point is, if you've ever been somewhere that has bad sewer systems, you know how important that is. So another thing we should really prioritize. And as long as we're keeping with other local communities' rates, I think that's what a good point too. If we're behind in how much we're charging, these other places are doing it, and residents are fine and they're having good clean water and good sewer systems, I think we can be on par with them, and it's not going to necessarily harm anyone. So thank you.
Leslie Gold. I'm for equity as much as we can achieve it in the water and sewer bills. And I appreciate the effort to not charge people for water that doesn't go to the sewer treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant. However, my understanding is that while there's not going to be billed until next spring, that the rates are going to affect this summer. Therefore, in my mind, this discussion should have been part of the budgeting process last fall. And I've been saying it for years. It's not directed at you, Supervisor. It's been something I've said to the last several supervisors. The budget includes general town budget, the highway budget, and all the special districts. The budget takes into account the use at the recycling and transfer station. All of those discussions should be part of the budget process. The information should be available for the budget hearing in November. Doing these little surprises later is not really transparent government. And I'm not dinging you specifically for it because it's been the way it's been done for many years. And I really would like to see a change in that and just get everything addressed on a timely basis as part of the budget. Thank you.
Beth, could you come up to the microphone and speak to that?
So I'll start by saying I couldn't agree with you more, very much so, in fact. And we did start this process during the budgeting. The portion of the tax bill that had the different, whether it was water or sewer charge on it, was directly linked to the capital debt. And we were able to break that out during the budgeting process. And we had wanted to get the rates in as part of the budgeting process. And unfortunately, we were not able to get the analysis completed in a timely fashion so that it could be approved in the budget. But going forward, it is the plan of my office to have for the board during the budgeting process those numbers, both of what will be on the capital debt that'll be on the tax bill every year, broken out specifically as a line. And then below that, what we want to do is have exactly this information, the rates broken out as part of the budget process, so it's visible to everybody and that we can track that. And that way we'll know if there's any problems in the future where a rate needs to be adjusted either up or down. It'll be done in a more timely fashion.
Yay.
Yeah.
And could you also explain the impact of having to make sure people were in the right sewer systems? And when did that occur? What process needed to happen in order?
So, okay, that,
Mhm.
so as we were going through and all three of us were putting our heads together and literally going line by line through properties and maps to make sure that people were moved. Once we identified properties that were in the incorrect districts, again, it took public hearings and board action to move all those, and we couldn't finalize the calculations until all those properties were moved into the correct district. So that was part of the delay in the calculating. So this has been kind of a multifaceted approach and iterative across the course of the year. But I think going forward, we're set up really well to have it all incorporated in the budget so that everybody can see it more easily. So.
And am I correct in understanding that prior to determining rates, we had to make sure that the homes were in the correct sewer systems?
Correct, yes. That, because we base the rates on the numbers, right? So we had to know how many accounts, how many users, how many properties, and then use their flow rates in those calculations. So we had to parse out the systems, and then it's very tedious, lots of spreadsheets, very exciting. But pull all the right information for the right portions of town into the right systems, and then resort all that information by property, and examine all those flow rates over the 12-year period. So if you ever have lots of time and would like a very long, boring conversation, it's one of the things I love to do, but most people aren't as excited about it. So.
Yes. So we started untangling this system that had been in existence for a very long time. It was like detective work. We started this process in the spring of last year, and there were many meetings in my office, in Matt Yetto's office with maps, in Beth's office, to try to untangle this system so that we could rebuild it in an optimal way. And the goal was absolutely to get it done during the budget, but it was like an onion. And as we unpeeled layers, we found new surprises that we had to figure out. And we had to figure out how to solve those issues. And we hear the message of transparency. And that's why we held this presentation, not once, not twice, but 3 times, so we could really try our best to explain the work that went into these proposed changes and answer questions. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this public hearing?
Hi, good evening. My name is Ihasui Gomes, 26 Bergen. So I am, first, thank you for your hard work, Comptroller Greenwood. I know probably some sweat and some tears for that. So I have, I'll echo the sentiments of what was said before me. First, being equitable is very important when we have such a diverse community. Having someone that has a pool or 4 kids, I'm that neighbor with 4 kids. So I know I go through a lot of water. And when we talk about some of our senior community members, you know, it shouldn't be a flat rate. We should be paying for what we use. And I think when we attach a dollar sign to what we use, it encourages accountability, which then transfers to conservation, because much like we watch our electric and our gas, we'll start to watch how much water we use. So I think that is a positive. I also think that as someone who works in public health, water is essential. It's essential to our hygiene, our health. From babies to the elderly, water is life. And I think that we need to protect that. And I approach things from an upstream approach as working in public health, and prevention is better than cure. So we don't want to wait till our infrastructure is falling apart and try to fix it, or we have health consequences and things that are going to have ramifications that last for years. I think we have a unique opportunity to support it now. And I think it's important that we invest and be good stewards of our community. So I just support the rate increase.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? Okay. All right, seeing no other members here to speak for this public hearing, I will go ahead and close this public hearing and move now on to privilege of the floor.
Nobody's getting up.
Dana?
Yep.
My name is Dana Brzee. I live on Valencia Road. And actually, Jamie, you and I have spoken on the phone about this. I have a concern about the franchise fee between Spectrum and the town of Niskuna. And I've talked to Jason about this. And I went on the Niskuna Nextdoor website that I'm in my computer, and I got a response from an Andrew McAdoo that said he worked getting franchise agreements for many years. The FCC doesn't require towns to collect a franchise fee. The town could revise the franchise agreement and reduce cable bills. The only requirement is they can't discriminate against other cable providers. So it's one of many hidden taxes that is set by the town. And I think that if the town of Niskuna addresses this, it would open the door for T-Mobile, Verizon Fios, AT&T. We're not talking a ton of money, $7 a month. But when you're living on a fixed income as a senior citizen, it matters. And it really makes me angry that I can't get past anybody at Spectrum to deal with this. So I was glad to find out that the town of Niskuna could do something about it. And Jason has a copy of this. Thank you.
Leslie?
Leslie Gold. It's just very encouraging to see the pieces about the recycling and transfer station in both the town newsletter and on the Facebook page. Thank you. I trust the sign's going up soon. Might already be up. I haven't been by in about a week and a half. And about Spectrum, I share the previous speaker's frustration with them, but I will note, as somebody who had a legacy plan, I called and I got the right agent, and she was able to hook me up with a new plan that preserves everything I had, but at a somewhat lesser rate.
And I'd like to add a side note to that. I paid more.
You have to speak into the microphone, ma'am.
That's TV, internet, computer. I pay more for that than I do to heat my 3-bedroom house on Valencia Road. That's robbery. Thanks.
Bill Chapman? Did you want to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay. And that's all I have.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during privilege of the floor?
Hi, I'm Eliza Misbahi on Story Ave. It's spring, and it's the time of year that the street sweepers come around to clean perfectly good streets and rip up our streets a little bit every time so that we can, as taxpayers, can repave them. I would like somebody to look into how many street sweepers do we have? How much do they cost the town? Can we run them less often? I know it's a law, you have to run them for some reason to clean up maybe the sewer. Maybe they could somebody could drive around and see whether they actually need to be run, and do our roads need to be ripped up, because it happens every year and it's a waste of money. Thank you.
I actually did some research about that.
Thank you.
And regarding the tearing up of the road, what is more likely to cause the damage to the road are the heavy vehicles, like the trash service that
Which
comes
we have
around.
a zillion of, and maybe the town of Niskuna, for all our taxes, should have one trash service, because that is another safety hazard for those of us on Story Ave, because we have people parking on the street. I do. It's a narrow street. We got buses coming because every kid gets bus service in Niskuna, even though we can walk. And you have the trash trucks coming down, little tiny kids waiting for the bus, and it's really dangerous. We don't need so many trash trucks.
Thank you.
I agree.
Anyone else here for privilege of the floor? Okay. Then we will move on to the resolutions. Okay, resolution number 2023-99. Will the clerk, oh, I'm sorry, 97. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the easement agreement to owners of 15 Carolyn Terrace.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just a point of clarification, in the packet here, it's 2022197, the actual sheet in the packet. It's correct, I think, on the agenda. It doesn't look right on the one that I have in my
I see that,
packet.
yes.
The correct number is 97. I think.
It's 2023
Yeah.
dash 97.
Correct.
Got it.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-98, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution awarding contracts for materials and services used by the Highway Department in its paving operations.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-99, sponsored by Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the submittal of a grant application through the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just to share, this is a resolution for us to approve in order for Chief Koshan to apply for this grant on his ongoing commitment to applying for grants and stretching our tax dollars. It's really helped the department, and I'm eager to approve this resolution tonight.
Is there any other discussion? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-100, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution regarding the reconciliation of corporate utility rates for the fourth quarter of 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-101, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a shared service agreement with Schenectady County regarding antivirus software.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-103, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to hire additional employees in the town's Office of Community Programs.
Thank you. Do I?
We skipped one, I'm
We skipped
sorry.
Oh, we
102.
skipped 102. I
102.
apologize.
Oh, is that right?
It was read right into the record. It's just 102, not 103.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it's sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is the first of what I'm sure will be several resolutions to hire seasonal workers in the Community Programs Department. Of course, we appreciate all of our returning employees and look forward to a good season.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-103, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution hiring seasonal workers in the town's highway and parks department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-104, sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of a donation from CDPHP.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This $4,000 donation funds our exercise program at the senior center, which I mention every month, and we appreciate CDPHP's generosity.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-105. Am I on 105?
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. Sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint an intern in the town's IT department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-106, sponsored by Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to amend Chapter 75 of the Code of the Town of Niskuna to conform with NYCRR Part 1203 Uniform Code and Energy Code minimum standards for administration and enforcement.
Just to clarify, the agenda's wrong. It's actually sponsored by Councilmember Delarada.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-107, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to amend the Code of the Town of Niskuna, Chapter 197, entitled Taxation, to provide a tax exemption for members of volunteer fire companies and ambulance services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
As a volunteer firefighter, I will abstain from discussing and voting.
Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Abstain.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Aye.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
4 ayes. and
The
1
resolution,
abstention.
the resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-108, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the payment to Tyler Technologies, Inc. for renewal of software licensing and support services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-109, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution accepting the financial report from the audit of elected officials' accounts.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-110, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution hiring a seasonal worker in the town's water and sewer department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-111, sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to amend fees set in the Facilities Use Manual.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-112, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution awarding a contract for building improvements at the water treatment plant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-113, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a renewal contract with County Waste for on-call hauling services at the recycling and transfer station.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-114, sponsored by Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to establish a demonstration program imposing owner liability for failure of operator to stop for a school bus displaying a red visual signal and stop arm.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just briefly, Supervisor, I was surprised to hear how much this has been going on. I had no idea that people were still engaged in such reckless behavior, and I think this is a great resolution to combat and protect that. It is our third life-saving resolution on for tonight. We had the one that is going to hopefully provide more impetus to get volunteer firemen and rescue people out on the streets to save lives. This certainly sounds like it's going to save lives, and it all comes under the April Donate Life Month and the resolution that we had for organ donors and the like. So I feel very privileged to be on the board tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Delarada.
I'll add to that and say I'm very excited for this partnership with our school district. I think everyone spoke very well tonight, but the children said it best. It's scary and surprising when adults are not safe. So I am hopeful that this will help adults learn the rules and how dangerous it is to pass a school bus and just help, as we said, behaviorally modify drivers. So thank you for everyone. This is very important work.
I also want to thank Chief Koshin. I believe a text came to Jessica and I pretty late one night saying, hey, here's this bus arm camera program that they're doing in this other municipality. What do you two think? And of course, we text back right away, yes, let's do this. Let's move forward. That is how our local government works. This is what we do, and the work occurs every day, late into the evening, early in the mornings, on the weekends when I'm visiting my kid at West Point. You get a call and you answer it and you take care of business. And I want to thank Chief Koshan for bringing this to our attention and for always, pushing forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to echo the comments that were made this evening. It's very important when you read in the media that this is going on, not just in our municipality, but in all municipalities and throughout the country. And anything that we can do to try to curtail this, we have to do. And as the supervisor said, we just get it done. Because how do you do that? Well, we've got to get our attorney. We got to get the law right. We have to pass a law. We have to have a hearing. All these steps to make it happen. That's what we do.
Yep. We
Make
got to
it
reach
happen.
out to the school districts and send emails and call and have meetings. And it's what working together looks like. It's what collaboration looks like. So yeah, it's really good. Thank you.
I have to agree with you, Supervisor, when you said this was probably the most interactive public hearing we've had. It was awesome, and I think it's why we have public hearings. And involvement like that is what we want. I'd also like to thank the district leadership for being here and the parents that spoke tonight, and especially Max and Madison. I did a little bit of research just over the last few days on stop arm violations, and to Councilman Delarada's point, and to add to Madison's comments, there's an estimated 17 million stop arm violations in the United States every year. And in a small town in downstate, which was only slightly bigger than Niskuna, they did a study which reported 615 violations in a 1 month period. So 17 million a year, 615 in a small town in 1 month. It obviously only takes one violation to result in a tragedy. So I think that this board needs to take whatever action is necessary to protect our youngest residents. Thank you, Chief Koshan, for bringing this to the supervisor's attention and to our town attorney for drafting this 7-page local law.
Okay.
I have one more thing I want to mention. Jessica mentioned it in her report. You talked about life-saving things, quality of life things we do in this town. Saturday, we had Drug Take Back Day. That was national. We had volunteer students here from our high school and from NCAP, which are very supportive of that. And I give them a little speech when I volunteered that. They're saving lives because any medications that we can get off of the street, be destroyed properly, saves lives. And that's what these kids in this community does. We provide them an opportunity. How many boxes did we have of Medicaid? 12 boxes of medications that were taken off the street. Now, all of that wasn't dangerous stuff, but just to get those things out of people's medicine cabinets. Again, another thing that we do here in our community for our residents.
All right. With no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-115, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni and Councilmember De La Rada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution making a determination on seeker with respect to certain park improvements in Niskuna.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-116, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the modification of a sludge dryer at the town's wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-117, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the disposition of certain surplus equipment.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-118, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing plant operator training for an employee in the Water and Sewer Department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-119, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to approve the purchase of a transmission for a yard waste packer.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-120, sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to establish certain fees and setting dates related to the 2023 Town of Niskuna Farmers Market and acknowledging the Farmers Market Committee members.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you to all these volunteers on the committee here who make the farmers market happen every year.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5
The
ayes.
resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-121, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving an easement agreement with the owners of 1306 Row Road.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-122, sponsored by sponsored by, it looks like Supervisor Puccioni and Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving the memorandum of agreement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2023-123, sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving addendums to license agreements.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to amend this resolution. This resolution includes addendums to license agreements for soccer club and Niskuna softball. We were having discussions with the softball club right up until the very last minute, so we didn't get that on in time. I'd like to amend this resolution to remove softball club wherever it's mentioned, and we will have that for next month.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right. Will the clerk please call the roll for the amendment on the motion?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes on the amendment.
Thank you. And now, is there any discussion on the amended resolution?
As I said, we'll have the softball club's addendum next month after some further discussion.
Thank you.
So that doesn't affect any of the pricing that's in here?
That's for soccer clubs, so that part still stays.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll on the resolution as amended?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The amended resolution passes. We're skipping the next one because we already did it, and we'll finish with Resolution 2023-125, sponsored by Councilmember Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution proclaiming April 29th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the town of Niskuna.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Hopefully, we will have a very good turnout on April 29th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We do encourage all to come. As I said earlier, there will be lots of tree saplings to be handed out, as well as the birds of prey that will be there. So it should be a very enjoyable time.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. At this time, I motion to move into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection F, to discuss the medical and employment history of a particular person or persons. At the close of executive session, we will not take up any additional town business. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll now move into executive session.